Oh yeah, we need to handle it. It's really this is yeah, I'm thinking it's easy, you know.
It's going to be first 5 minutes me staring at it.
We are live. All right.
What's your language? Your language. Little Anthony Noel. Yay.
The nephew, everybody. The nephew.
Yeah, I mean,
We're going live very soon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our third and now annual Candlelit Tales Dragonsea Keen Celtic Storytelling Night. Unfortunately, this is the last one of this series because my brother Aaron is leaving on Friday, so thank you all for coming to the last one for a while. So tonight's all about goddesses. And well, I'm not surprised to see so many goddesses here tonight. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage my brother, my best friend, the head of Candlelit Tales, Aaron Hegarty, ladies and gentlemen.
I put this on. This is my storytelling club. I have a club. I'm going to sit down. Great. So Fidel. It was the eve before a great battle. This was the first battle of Moitura. Now, well, it was the second actually, but that doesn't matter. The first was kind of boring. Now, it was all about Balor of the Danin, the people of the goddess Danin. they were in trouble. And it was worrying because the four Morians, the Fui Mura, the people from under the sea, these people were ferocious, had magic of the water and wave. And so they knew, every one of them, that they would have to get on their side the goddess of battle rage, of war, the carrion crow, Maka, Bav, Anand, the triple spiral, the goddess of three names, three faces she had. And they knew they needed her, because without her battle rage and her fury, they would not stand a chance. So they sent the Dagda. Now the Dagda was the good god. The Dagda was light and merry and joyful, and it was hard for women to say no to him. He was very good at wooing them. He had great big hands, a big belly, a belly full of laughter too. And so they sent the Dagda to, well, get Morrigan, the Marignu, on their side for the battle to come. The Dagda, well, he went towards the river where the Morrigan was staying, and the dogs barking in and around the area didn't delay him as he strode on past, carrying his great big club. Famous he was for the great club he carried. It was so great, it made babies cry. It was so great, it dug a rivet in the land as he walked around. He could carve out the traces of the borders of your land. And the Dagda, well, he had the bountiful, ever-filled and full cauldron of plenty that never ran empty. And the cauldron, you could take whatever you wanted, and there would be no delay from the food. Once you asked for it, you would get it straight away. No waiting for ages and ages and ages and ages. Then remind them, then wait ages again. So no, you get it straight away. And the Dagda, he played the harp. Now he played the seasons into motion. So he knew the song of spring, the echo of winter, the silence that brings about the beauty and abundance of summer, and the riveting collapse that surrounds autumn. He played these songs, and well, he also played into the hearts of his listeners any mood that he wished. Joy, or happy, or plenty, or sadness, or sorrow, or sleeping. You would not be able to resist whatever he played. And so he went down to the Morrigan, this furious, battle rage-filled woman, and she saw him coming. And she decided she would put herself away from any form of distraction or seduction. And so she carried herself where the river ran full and flowing fast. Side and the other leg all the way back to the other side. Standing in the middle of the river, she knew she could not be gotten to. No one could get to her if she was standing so far wide. This flowing river, the Dagda had no chance to seduce her. And even so, she knew she was the carrion crow. She could shape shift and turn. In a feather, a cloak would be spun, and she would wave her wings in the air and fly off, if she dared. But she was curious. She couldn't help but look and wonder what was so great about this guy anyway. I mean, he's kind of fat. He's definitely past his best. I'm not sure the club is that big. But the Dagda, well, he saw what she was doing and he walked his way upriver. And then with the river flowing past, full and fast, he got in, sinking himself into the sweet, cold, bristling water. And then he lay back, surrendering to the floating and the carrying the river would do. And he floated. And he floated downstream. And then, well, he reached for his great, big, enormous, massive club. And he pointed it in the direction of the Morrigan. And a coupling happened that was mighty and altogether fantastic for both of them. You can only imagine with their great staff that big and her legs spread. Well, I don't have to paint the picture, you understand. And well, they tumbled and they fall and they rolled around so much she was kind of delighted. She couldn't help anyway, trying to figure out was he all that good, and he was fucking great, so she had some more. And 3 days went by, they forgot all about the war. But then, well, she felt life stirring inside. And when her belly grew, well, she knew something magical was going to happen. The battle, well, that's another story. They won, don't worry. Of course they did. But she gave birth on the first day of spring. And when she gave birth to a baby girl, a ray of sunlight shone through the window, and it struck the babe on the forehead. And when the babe saw a jot of fire erupt, she laughed and smiled, and everyone in Ireland saw this column of fire. Bridget was born that day, and some do say the Morrigan was her mother, although we have some confusion over that. Believe it or not, you usually know who the mother is. Bridget was so brilliant that some great goddesses claimed to be her mother as well. But whatever way it was, she became the inspirer of Imbolc, of poetry and creation, that manifestation of the pure and utterly essenceful delight that comes to poetry and craft and singing and music. And we still call to Bridget and Breed and her mothers, whoever they were, for that inspiration, that Imbolc. And she had 3 faces herself, for she was also the starter of great craft. You see, she lit the fire in Kildare, and she left it lighting there for 6 days, and on the 7th she would mind it, but the rest of those 6 others would have to mind it. And people came all over Ireland to keep that flame lit. And that is why we must always keep it lit within us and around us. And when she crafted that fire, she began to brew great drinks, ales and whiskies and finest things. And she taught us how to do that, to brew and to forge the brilliant, beautiful metalworks, using fire so hot to melt, and water to steam and cool from the ground itself. It is with the air around it. It is the culmination of those 4. And healing. For she was a healer. She was suckled by a magic cow in the other world, because her mother, if her mother was, the Morrigan, was not very good at mothering, because she was the goddess of battle rage. So when she screamed louder than her. And so she gave the babe off to the other world. A nanny of sorts, suckled by a cow with red ears. Everywhere she walked, flowers blossomed and bloomed, and so she knew the healing ways of how to attune herself to nature and, well, bypass all sickness. And so she also always aided the women in their greatest times of need. And so she became the patron goddess and saint when she turned her cloak to her. She was there for them, to raise her voice for theirs, and to help and heal the wounds. And so tonight, the eve of Imbolc, we celebrate our goddesses all around us. Come on, Di. Fair play to you. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. So, yeah, up Bridget. That's the main thing to keep from this night. Come on, Bridget. Yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. It's a real pleasure to be telling stories in my brother's bar here in Guatemala after seeing his kind of teaching displays during the last 2 weeks, teaching about permaculture and sustainable living and getting up off your arse and fucking contributing something. It's very good. It's very empowering. Oh, that's good. There was a hum there for a while. Thanks, man. It was very dramatic, though. I think it added to the drama. It worked. It worked. Okay. Good. Are you all right there, guys? Are you sure? Good. You're very quiet. I am talking a lot. I do need a candle. Thank you. Thank you, Kenzie. More candles. All right. Well, we're going to be joined now by Captain Generous. That was Dahi. Get up for Dahi. It's so much fun just playing with musicians when they kind of ask you, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't really know. We're doing something magical. Okay, go. And they do it most of the time. And Dolly did it every time. And this is Captain Generous. We're going to tell another story, the other possibility of who the mother of Boan was.
Rohan?
Sorry. Of Bridget. Boan is the goddess. Yeah, Rowan the dog. It is true though, like, you know, there's oftentimes confusion over who the father is. But Bridget, we know the father was definitely the Dagda. But the Dagda got around a lot, so they couldn't track exactly who the goddess was. So maybe that's it, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the Morrigan or Boan. Yeah.
Not to be confused with Rohan.
Not to be confused with Rohan, the dog who might hump you or sit on you. He doesn't take in personal boundaries. Barriers. All right, we're gonna have Neil delicious cacao that you can purchase over there. Stewardship. Okay. So, Boan was bored. She was the wife of the great king, all of Ireland. Nuada was his name. Nuada of the silver arm. Because he lost his arm in that fight I just told you about. The second battle of fucking Maitura, one of those two anyway. And after he lost his arm in the great fight, the healer Dean Kent made for him a silver arm, which worked and functioned just perfectly. But something cool and cold settled in him. And Boan, one of the godlike people of the Tua De Danann, she was another version of Danu and Anu herself. She brought light and beauty and abundance. She was the mirror and the sun and the moon of this king of Ireland. He could not be belonging to Ireland without belonging to her. And she is the goddess of Ireland. When you think of the Boyne River that flows around Newgrange, the oldest site and burial chamber that you may or may never see. Well, that was her son's home. And she made that river. And this is the story of that river and that goddess, Boan. Because she was married to that king with the silver arm, and he was cold, and he became cold as he got old. And she didn't like that overly. She was the goddess of light and prosperity. She didn't like it when there was darkness and growling and noises around her. And this is all that this man seemed to create. Sharp growling and barking. And loads of barking. And she was like really getting, it was wrecking her head actually. It was just so annoying. So she went walking, okay? She left the place. It was cold and damp and miserable, and it was a big castle, but it was cold. And Ireland was wet and damp and mouldy. It's not nice. So she went walking, and suddenly she heard the song of spring on the air. And so the deadness in winter is real in Ireland, and you can really sense it and feel it. Skipping and dancing as she began to see little blossoms coming through the ground. Little signs of life as the sun shone down and she began to feel lighter in a spring air with a spring in her step. And she followed this music until she found herself at the water's edge, and there was a great looking man, a specimen if you will. He was big and broad and a hairy back, and he had a big arse on him, and his fingers were going and flying so fast and luxuriously past all the strings on such a beautiful harp. The shape of it was sexy. It was just lovely all in all. And so, for the first time, she felt something. But she backed away and she clutched onto her cloak. You see, she was wearing a cloak. A cloak not much like mine, but it covered over her. It shrouded her in darkness so no one could see her. Because she had been married to a man that had felt so cold she had not been seen. And by not being seen, you forget yourself. And so she became invisible. And she became forgotten even to herself because she had no reflection in the other man's point of view. And she clutched onto her cloak now, the invisibility cloak that she wove in a magic way to make sure no one could ever see her. As she stared at the dog there, and he turned and looked and said, "How are you?" And she felt seen, and she couldn't help but laugh. A giggle came out of her lips. And then the doctor, well, he kind of slightly changed the tune. It was spring before, something floaty, but something kind of sexy started to happen. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was certainly making her move towards him. And now she let that cloak fall around her, just fall to the floor. An invisibility cloak is hard to see, so you didn't really notice it as you would, and it got lost because you can't find it. I guess. Because you never hear of it again. And anyway, she walked then and she realized she hadn't a stitch of clothing on her, but the dog, well, he felt overdressed suddenly as he went to meet her at the water edge, discarding his clothes and robes, and, well, they had great sex. Between the grunting sounds and sweat that was pouring all around, well, eventually the sun, now moving through the sky, seemed to dip down low. An evening gleam of golden light shone across the fields as she looked over the four corners of Ireland on that hill near Tara where the High King sat, overlooking the valleys and rolling hills, the green pasture, and she thought, but I have to go. Because I can't stay a day away from my home in Tara. When the sun sets, we will have to cease this. Because she was the queen of Ireland, the Ban There is no word for queen, only woman king. Ree is king, Ban is the woman king. And she had a duty to her not to be seen to stumble and cheat, because that was not to be done in those days, unless previously agreed upon. That also happened. And so the dog said, "Yes, that's fine, don't worry." And he slipped a string off the great, beautiful harp, and he flicked it to the sky, and he pulled ever so slightly as the sun sat right back in the middle of the sky, and he said, "Let's go." As he picked his harp up and began and continued to play the spring song as they stepped in step and time and rhythm, and they went and they loved Ireland, like being about for a whole year, technically, but it was the same day because the sun sat there in the sky. And she didn't have to leave, and she didn't have to go, and she felt her belly grow. And you know the rest. For when she left, the end of that day, which was really a year, although she gave her son up, Angus Og, to be the god of love and loving and longing in Newgrange, where he lived. She knew she could not return to Nuada, her husband, the King of Ireland. She had felt love. She knew what it was now when she was not willing to go back to being unseen. She was of wisdom because her curiosity was endless. And right now, even magic guess upon this well, not to be looked into, and the knew it, her husband had sworn no one could ever look into the well of wisdom. She went. Curiosity got the better of her, and she thought, fuck this. And she walked straight up, and she stared straight down, and she saw the wonders of this world and the next. Everything was there, staring at her. And it blew her away, but the waters, they felt a sway in the ground, for no one can hold on to so much emotion and knowledge and wisdom. And so the waters erupted from the well of wisdom, drowning it out and starting a flowing river. And Boann ran. She knew this water was going to sweep her away. And when they got to that sea, the crashing waves were sweeping in the Irish Sea. The wind was howling as she dove into the water, with the water of the river rushing right past her. The water took her, and some say she drowned. Some say she is that river, still today, still flowing from the same source into the Irish Sea. And you might go there one day to see for yourself. Yep. All right, so we're going to tell you one last story. Not going to be me. Nice change of tone. I get sick of my own voice. I talk too much. So Neil, my brother, is going to come up and yeah, this is one of my favourite stories. You played it last time. Well, it was awesome. I'm going. All right. So, my God. You turn on to the side. Take this.
Don't waste all the gold. Testing now, Neil. Test it, Neil.
Testing. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. There we go. It's probably a bit too loud, isn't it?
Don't touch the microphone.
Yeah, basically. It's not here.
Run it. Test first.
Testing.
That's it.
You know, in the Bible they say in the beginning was the Word. But in the place where this story is from, they say in the beginning was the sound. And they said this for a long time. In the beginning was the sound. And well, one day a boy asked, where did the sound come from? And his grandfather said, well, son, if you knew that, you would have to go to the cave where the old woman lives. And the boy said, what cave? What old woman? And the old man said, well, son, there's this cave. And if you would know the answer to all the great questions. All the knowledge that's ever been in the world is in this cave. But the thing is, son, although there are roads going to all places, there's high roads, there's by roads, there's little paths, there's big open highways. No one has ever found this cave. And in this cave there's a woman, and the woman is weaving. The woman is weaving the most beautiful garment that anyone has ever seen. And this garment, this woman has been weaving this garment for the longest time, and now she's nearly finished. And she's just embroidering the edge. And she's embroidering the edge with porcupine quills. She's biting down on the porcupine. And she's taking out the quills and she's embroidering the edge of the most beautiful garment that anyone has ever seen. And she likes the idea of taking something that could stick you and making something beautiful. She likes the idea of taking the thing that can stick you in the porcupine quill and using it to embroider the edge of the most beautiful garment anyone has ever seen. And well, she's nearly finished, but she goes back to the back of the cave and she stirs the pot on the fire. And in there is the pot. And something catches her eye in the pot. She sees new things in the pot sometimes, does this woman. And she stays back there a little longer than usual, and while she's back there, the black dog comes into the cave. What black dog did you say? The black dog. Well, the black dog came into the cave, and the black dog saw a loose thread, and the black dog started to pull, and he pulled, and he pulled, and he got into a frenzy the way a black dog will. And, well, don't blame it on me, but he destroyed the garment, the most beautiful garment that anyone's ever seen. And well, the woman comes back and she sits there and she looks at all her beautiful work destroyed, and she's a little bit upset. But she sits and she meditates for a while, and while she's meditating, a new image of a new garment, the most beautiful garment that anyone has ever even imagined, let alone created, comes into her mind, and she becomes consumed by this vision, and she starts to weave again. And this woman is still weaving, and she's been weaving since the start of time, and she will always weave. Says, "Wow, Granddad, so how do I find this cave?" And the old man says, "Well, you do what the woman does, son. You pick up your thread and you start weaving."
All right, lovely stuff. Thank you very much. It's great crackdown stories, isn't it? They're very inspiring, they're good crack, you get to listen to them and chill out. All right, we're going to have a few songs with a special guest, EJ? I'm going to go with EJ. All right, I'm going to get a couple of songs here, take a break. You know, you can stop paying attention so much, but give it up for EJ!
Good job, Hannah Russell. Mommy. Yeah, I told the young Robert No, I don't know about that now, but
that would be fun too, though. Maybe I should sing it.
Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for the opportunity to sing ours. Appreciate it. I've been missing my guitar back at home. And this is kind of a playful love song. Also from a guy who might not be from Ireland, but from Scotland. Hozier.
he's from Ireland.
From Ireland. Oh, appropriate then. Jack, you know it then. So tired trying to see from behind the red in my eyes. No other version of swine. For reasons red
wretched and confined. She blows out of nowhere, roaming candles of the wild, laughing her way through my feeble disguise. Every version of me dead and buried in the yard outside. Sit back and watch the world go by. She's gonna save me, baby, running her against my hair. She don't know me crazy, so me baby, tell me that she wouldn't care. We'll steal a Lexus, detectives, ride around picking up blues. We'll name our children Jackie and Wilson, freeze them on rhythm and blues. Got clean from the dream that night, let my mind reset. Oh, looking up from the cigarette, she has already left. Start digging up the yard from what's left of me and all the little vignettes. But whatever was so she knows that steal a Lexus, ride around picking up blues. We name our children Jackie and Wilson, raise them on rhythm and blues. I forgot the middle verse. So there it is.
Love you, AJ. Woo. Hey Neil, you're live in England.
Hey, everybody.
Since we have a theme of love tonight, I'll share a love song that's close to my heart.
He's got
A
it.
song by an artist, Iron and Wine. It's a very mature love song. And these two lovers have lived their lives. They've made their temple. They've made their paradise. They've had their children. They've loved their love. And there comes a time when there's only one thing left to do, which is to give it all back to Source, give it all back to the universe. And they're just kind of talking, dancing through what that would look like. Die in each other's arms, of course. What other way is there? She says, wake up, there's no use pretending. I'll keep smiling, breathing her. Birds are leaving over autumn's ending. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, naked as we came. One will spread on, ashes round the yard. She says if I leave before you, darling, don't you waste me in the ground. I lay smiling like our sleeping children. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, naked as we came. One will spread on, ashes. One more?
I'm eating, so keep playing.
Cool. I can do that.
For as long as you want.
Julian, do you have a pick? Good. If someone wants to play drum, I wouldn't say no to that. The air was more than humid and the heat was more than hungry, and the cars were square and spitting diesel fumes. The bulls were running wild because they're big and mean and sacred, and the children were playing cricket with no shoes. The next morning we woke up, man, with a sunrise to the right. There we were stuck in Port Blair, where boats break and children stare. There were so many fewer questions when stars were still just a host to heaven. Yes, and there were so many fewer, no mistakes of any sort. Moving softly, the engine running smooth. Officials were quite friendly once we drowned them with our sweet talk, and we grabbed them with our cigarettes and booze. The next morning we woke up, man, with a 7-hour drive. There we were stuck in Port Blair, where boats break and children stare. There were so many fewer questions when stars were just the close to heaven. Yes, and there were so many fewer questions when stars were still just the holes to heaven. Yes, and there were so many fewer questions when stars were still just the holes to heaven. Yes, and why were there so many fewer questions when stars were still just the holes to heaven? Hell yeah, well now that you got it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready? You want more first?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sweet. Infinite my quesadilla. All right, one more song. Hey.
Any requests?
Funky. Funky fresh.
I only play Trevor and Jack Johnson, actually. Okay. All right. Okay. I know I need to learn that one. I'm working on it. That one's really hard. Ooh, that's too sad. But you're right, I do have a Tracy Chapman voice. Spilling out like water, like the mountain gave your daughter. Surrender never felt so good. I grew it strong like a sacred wood, and now the roots are running deeper. All illusions get weaker. You see, the answers, they don't come from reading, they come from believing. What I know is that I don't know, and now I dance and I sing and I live full. I give it up to the call of the unknown. I hope. What I say is that I don't say, and now I rest all stress in the like a child of the earth. I lay it down with the joy unbounded. I let my maker string and sound it, and all the colors well they enter me. There's no need for defender. You see the answer, I am no more seeking. Only love I'm keeping. Only love I'm keeping. What I know is that I don't know. And now I dance and I sing and I live for. I give it up to the call of the unknown. I hope. What I say is that I don't say. And now I rest all stress in the holy name. All fears and tears, I give it all away. I play like a child of the earth. I give it all to my love, my love, my love, my love, my love, my love. I give it all to my love, my love, my love, my love, my love, my love. I give it all to my love, my love, my love, my love, my love, my love. I give it all to my love, my love, my love, my love, my love, my love. I give it all to my love. I give it all to my love. I give it all to my love. What I know is that I don't know. And now I dance and I sing and I live for. I give it up to the call of the unknown. I hope. What I say is that I don't say. And now I rest all stress. What I know is that I don't know. I am a child of the earth. Woo! Did you finish your quesadilla?
What's your name?
EJ.
Tell them that, not me. I know your name.
Oh my gosh.
Ah, I'm EJ. Thank you guys.
All right. It's a real, you know what? I feel like I'm at home. Automatically winning or something. Okay, so Caleb is gonna accompany me for this. DJ, that was awesome. Thanks so much. It was good. We needed a woman up here. It was a guy last night. It was just a load of dudes talking about it. Get fucking cancelled with it. Okay. So I guess this is one last story. Yeah, that's what happens. There's kind of a tradition in live shows for Candle Tales that we get everybody to shout, okay? Now, it's the thing that'll happen anyway, so you might as well just go with it. And we're gonna be calling upon Bamba Fola Eru, okay? They're three primordial goddesses of Ireland. Don't try and say that 3 times fast. All we gotta know is Bamba Fola Eru. Okay, say it with me. Bamba Fola Eru. Bamba Fola Eru. Bamba Fola Eru. Off. Don't do it just yet. Don't waste the energy. It's sacred. By the way, this is what we like to call a storytelling ceremony. I've noticed everything's basically a ceremony over here. I've never seen so many ceremonies. It's like, I love it. I have tea ceremony every morning. Well, apparently. I just started having tea. Anyway. This story starts in wetness and lashings of rain. Baltic breeze flew in across Ireland, soaking it in cold. Or that's what it felt like. Yeah, well, she was always on the run. She was in the wick, the mists and the wild places. Always cold. always on the run, always fighting and foraging with her mother and her father, Diarmid and Grania. And that is a great tale, the tale of Diarmid and Grania, and many Irish people know it. It's the story of Diarmid stealing away Grania from Fionn McCool, the leader of the Fianna. We have one person nodding in recognition. I'm not sure, just because she wanted to. Yeah, she knows it. I do that though, sometimes I nod and go, I have no idea what they're talking about. I do it all the time. Anyway. Well, she grew up on the run with 3 brothers. Always on the run because the Fianna were chasing after them. And they could not get up in the morning in the same place that they went to bed at night. Think about that last one. I'm pretty sure it means they had to get up in the night and move on, and then, like, yeah, obviously. Just explaining it for, like, people like me who didn't get it for ages. Fortunately, I had a sister, the other half of Canada Tales, who explained everything to me. We all need sisters. Listen. Metaphysical or otherwise. So, Aithne grew up on the run from Fionn McCool, and the Fianna were the greatest fighting faction in Ireland. And they were always harrying, and they were always chasing, and they were always running her down. And she was always on the run for fear of Fionn and the Fianna to come in the dead of night or early in the morning. They'd hear the dogs howling. The one time the dogs don't howl here. They would hear the baying of the hounds coming closer to them, bearing down on them, and they would be running and rushing. And everywhere in Ireland you'll find glades and hills, corners and cliffs that were the bed of Diarmid and Grania, and they were always on the run. One rainy day, and Grania, after years on the run of never staying in one place for long enough to raise their family, always moving they were. They had a message from the Fianna, a peace offering, a piece of land for Grania and Diarmid, to trust that everything would be forgiven after all this long hardship. And Aithne, she saw her father shake hands with Fionn McCool, the man she had heard stories about when she was a little girl, the furious man of the Fianna hunting them down. He was the leader of the baying of hounds. He was the man she saw in her nightmares. And she saw this peace offering and she didn't believe it for a second. But years went by. Mistrust lay in her heart. Diarmid and Grania, her mother and father, were left outside of the Fianna, not allowed to the great and many feasts they had, until one day Grania displayed a great gathering to really put everything to peace. And news came to the feasting hall after 3 days and 3 nights of feasting and merrymaking and music and singing, as Aithne watched Fionn and the Fianna with suspicious eyes. A boar was loose on the town nearby, a great and brilliant boar. This was bearing down and ripping through the land in the town, and they called for the Fianna to help, for no one could hunt this brilliant boar. And so the Fianna were called to action, and Fionn went to Diarmid, her father, and asked him for the hunt, and there Aithne knew something was wrong. Her father, to go with this man she knew would lead. She watched. Diarmid had a gesh, a magic promise on him, that he could not strike and penetrate the skin of a boar with his blade. And so, when the boar bared down on Diarmid, he could only use the blunt of the sword, the handle, to knock at its head, but the boar gouged his guts, and he was lying bleeding. Although lying dead himself, the boar was gone. Fionn McCool looked at Diarmid O'Diarmid. And he had a choice there and then to save him, to use his hands, which had the healing power of the Tua de Danann, and the power of Goddess Danu herself in his thumb to heal Diarmid. And he filled his hands by the water and walked back to Diarmid. And Eithne watched. She watched this man collect water in his hands and walk towards her father and let the water slip out and drop and drain to the ground and let her father die. She swore that day she would one day wreak ruin on Fionn McCool. And so she went and she left and she went searching for great teachers. She called all of the great and old goddesses of the land to give her the greatness to find those teachers. And she went to the far-flung places all over this globe. And she won for herself the blue bright blade. And with it she carved a trace right through the world, gathering people to her, because she had one end to fall down on Fionn with fury and vengeance. And those people gathered around with her, for she was a bright blue blade, and her fury was red hot. And she called upon the Morrigan, the Marignu, Macabob and Anne to give her the fury to last a lash upon Fionn and bring him to ruin. And her fury was burning bright as she landed in Era. And she felt the primordial gods, the goddesses of old, those women who've lived so long we've forgotten why we tell Eithne's story. Because it is not a great story, it is a tragedy. But her story lasts on the lips of storytellers and will do till the end of time. For now is Imbolc, now is Bridget's day. And we remember all women and the power they have. And Eithne took her bright blue blade and she marched down on Fionn and the Fionn. And every one of them watched as this horde came towards them. They knew as they battled around through a feasting hall they were in, they knew it was Fionn and Eithne, and so a one-on-one contest was arranged. Bright and early Eithne walked and saw the sun rise and splash golden light on the sea, and the cliffs of the west hung high, dropping down deep into the ocean below, as Fionn McCool held his great hazel shield, the unbreakable shield. His huge sword at his side, surrounded by the Fianna and Eithne. She took her bright blue blade and she danced. She felt Fola, she felt Eru, she felt the Bomba, she felt the Marignu, every facet of Breed and Bridget, and every one of the Tua de Danann, and Danu herself was ringing right through as she wove her sword around Fionn McCool, who was battled back, and his unbreakable, well, his shield that could not be broken, it was broken in a great blast of her blue bright blade. And when she bore down on Fionn, the only one who had ever defeated Fionn in single combat, it was a mastery of skill and display, and the Fianna knew the day was come for Fionn to be at his end, and there it was, the chance for her to strike. And she considered the time he looked at Diarmid O'Dibna, her father, and did not let him live. And she had the same choice in that moment. And she chose the higher path. She chose to let him live. But she would know. She would lead the Fianna from that moment onwards. She had defeated Fionn, so the only way for it now was for her to lead. But from the darkness, and he slipped a knife through her rib into her heart, and she fell. And the rain poured on her body, and she was forgotten. And for a time, she turned her cloak to be a saint. She was too powerful to be replaced and forgotten. She stood strong and bright. And she was there to stare into the eyes of the men that would have forgotten and let her fall. And she called to Bamba for air. And that's why we must call to Bamba for air. Bamba for air. Bamba for air. Bamba for air. For we will not forget. We will not forget the women that have gone in their way and into the ground to the forgotten past, the stories that have not been recorded, the lasting memory of these women who have struggled for so long. We will not forget, we will always recall, we will reclaim that strength as we still call them. Air, bomb, oh, air, bomb, oh, air, bomb, oh, air, bomb, oh, air, bomb, And I always forget to say this. We're Candlelit Tales, and you should enjoy our podcasts on all the platforms that you enjoy listening to podcasts to. Because I always forget to say that part. Yeah. All right, have a good night. Happy Imbolc, everybody.
Yes, bastard. Fuck. Oh, fuck. No. Hold on, sorry.
The energy of the innocent, they were gathered in the tombs. They would need to make their journey to nature.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to do it.
I was standing in front of the camera with some time. Okay, alright, come on, sit. It's a lifesaver, is Yeah, it was good. That was brilliant. Yeah, man. Is that alright now? I feel like I fucked that. No, you did. You warmed into it, but you got it like I was like, I was go so long into it. I was like, wait, what's going on? I was like, and then I was like, oh, she's running already? And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I missed it. It has to be fucking hard to find the story.
You know what? I was working at the I didn't realize I was going to help set up the and as I was telling you, that that's why like
Probably from 1/3
I'm always like once I get a rhythm.
I was turning the glass to the I had no idea. I was trying to follow along and be like, alright, let's pick it up. Okay, now we go. I have no idea. You can't be
Can we give another round of applause for Aaron and Candlelit Tales and Dahi and Caleb and Captain Generous here, who also just happens to have arrived on Spotify. He's a featured artist. Maybe we can get him back for St. Patrick's Day or something. And Generous is going to sing a few songs for you tonight. So big hand for Aaron, big hand for Generous.
By the end,
you guys might have a bit of time. It was different. You guys were just psyched. Like, it was,
out of the way. Everything we not together, without being the same to me. Hope is my twilight of the sun. As I take you for men, the shadow suits me where my hair come to an end. I'll be holding on to you, spending years perfecting lives with strangers. If only you, if only I could. I'll be holding on to you, spending years perfecting lives with strangers. If only you, if only. You are crazy acrobat. You are the witch around your cat. I long to be a bit like you. I hope you don't know. I love the way your body's made. I love the way your voice is sex. Be a whisper in your ear. I want to be a baby you. Because now I'm more or less, I'm just a lady with some time. I want to be made out of love. I want to be made into
Yeah, how does it sound? It sounds really bassy over here.
that window, you fade into the glass. I hear you so softly, you wonder where to pass. Each night I'm on your own, you go around the night. Hear that, hear that. These moments come and pass. Hear that, hear that. We cannot take it back. Hear that, hear that. These moments come and pass. Good life, we cannot take it back. The fragility of intimacy. Who you are, what that means. You think you're twisted, I'm just a tool. Truth is a reflection of you. What you got, boy, you never find. It's not another state of mind. So I'm not here to wear to tie. That's that wonderful desire. Truth is a reflection of you. The fragility of intimacy. Who you are, what that means. You think it's twisted, I'm just a tool. Truth is a reflection of you.
Captain Generous! One more, two.
Uno más, uno más. Una última canción. Ala.
Yeah.
And I don't even have the right cable to have it around properly.
Yeah. You know, at the shop in Canada, if you go back to where the hardware store is, there's a music shop that's tucked away in the back. You can make your own chords. They're really fucking cheap. Yeah. Really?
How I feel. Show the sky, I know how I feel. If they don't lie, you know how I feel. So we don't, so day, so night. For me, and I feel it. in the sea, you know how I feel. Sitting on a tree, you know how I feel. Some new days, some new days, some new life. Oh, and I feel it. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies are having fun, you know. Sleeping peaceful day to day, that's what I mean. And this whole world is a bold world, a new world. For me, and I feel it. Stars really shine, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. And I feel it. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Thank you, Generous. Big hand for Generous. Whoop, whoop. Now, dances and shit.
We love you, Caleb. I'll get there, don't worry. I love the man of glass.
Captain Generous. Give it up for Aaron. It was awesome. I always think it's really funny that the most Irish experience I've ever had is in Guatemala.
Hey! Whoop! Run, lads! Up the road! My car!
That's for sure. You're so lovely. Still need more. Need more. We are not pardoned, not you and not me. We gave up on love, but we still believe. I thought I was love you like you. I thought You should need to like me. Please don't leave me this way. Oh, is this love enough to sheathe your husks and stay? And stay. Is this love enough? Sheathe your husks and stay. And stay. Don't leave me this way.
This one's for Eric the bartender.
Fuck you, Mark.
This song's called Fuck You, Eric.
Very different energy.
Once I was a young man, and I was making better plans, and now those days have all gone away. I sit beside my house, watching this whole world spin around, wishing it might spin the other way. You try playing hard to get, just so I won't forget your face. You're the king of hearts, but ooh, baby, I'm the ace. You got me on my knees. I beg you not to leave. Now on these diamonds and pearls, but now these days have all gone away. Every lady needs a man, even though I do pretend. In the end, I still know it's you. I try playing hard to get, just so you won't forget my face. Oh, come on down, go ahead and put me in my place.
Yeah, I was like, you're never gonna see me play, man. But alright.
Got me on my knees. Beg you not to leave. Nice to be again. But everybody likes to say that the world has got to change, but I just want to stay the same with you. There's no black without the white, there's no day without the light, it's true. You can't live without me, and baby, I can't live without you.
17 more.
You know Shaky Grace?
I do know Shaky Graves. I don't know how to play it. I know of Shaky Graves.
I've heard it's a concept.
I've heard it's a thing. People are into it these days.
Can I play drums with you?
Is that?
It's upbeat. Can I play drums with you?
It's not upbeat.
Alright, cool. Let it rip.
My hands aren't working. I'll play a different song. This one's a little bit more upbeat. My hands aren't working either.
I've been lost on a sweet road. You took off like a steamboat, so steady, I wasn't ready for it. I wanted to be a lighthouse, it's light on, lights out. So why couldn't you just say with me? 'Cause you knew you stole my stars away. So why should the tide lead my ship astray? We're lost and I'm found. You're out to sea and I'm homeward bound. Yeah. Fall on down like it's moving my sail. I bet you thought of somebody else. Yeah, yeah. Now we're down with Baby Jones. Try to find what he left behind. The sacred heart's no longer yours. 'Cause you knew you stole my stars away. So why should the tide lead my ship astray? You were lost and I'm found. You're out to sea and I'm homeward bound. Yeah. Fall down like it's when my sails. I bet you thought of yours. Yeah, yeah. Cheers, thanks so much.
Kayla Boston, ladies and gentlemen. Kayla Boston. Take a bow, sir. Take a bow.
One more song.
Usually, I'm supposed to start. Just like that.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does sound super bassy from behind. It's weird.
Yeah, it's just you're getting this.
Yeah.
Alright, is this thing live?
You broke my left hand.
Mark, you're live on the internet. You're still live on the internet. It's beautiful. Gonna do a little bit of a.
Got it.
Oh, I love it. Alright.